Welcome to Phoenix, Arizona Vikings fans. I'm Gabe Henderson. That's Vikings General Manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. And Kwesi, we're here at the annual league meeting. But before we talk business, if our audience are college basketball fans like myself, they all did a double take at their TV on Friday when they saw the Princeton-Creighton game and were like, hold on, is that Kevin? Is that Kwesi? You guys were in attendance at that game, and I know both you guys, that's your alma mater, San Diego State, who played afterwards. You went to Princeton. But for you, and you like, what was that conversation like with KOC to, I guess, pull that off before you got here to Arizona?
You know, I think that was, first and foremost, I want to be thankful to our wives who, made it such that we could go. Both of us looked at each other and were like, when else are we going to be head coach and GM and our two alma maters playing at the same site to go further than they've ever gone in the NCAA tournament? And, my wife had to go pack up our house in California, and obviously Kevin's wife has children at home. We're blessed that we got that okay. But, we find so much joy watching basketball because that's one thing. The NFL, we're watching, there's always some part of us that's analyzing. Yeah. And that's the one thing we can sit back and just be fans, be those 17-year-old kids that walk in the hallways at Princeton or San Diego State. And that was a lot of what we were just talking about, the joy we were having. Yeah. And then also the similarities between basketball and football. As people know, I didn't have a great background in football before I came into this, and basketball helped me, was kind of my bridge language to football. And, that's just like a V-cut, or, that's just like something I do within basketball. So we talk a lot about the similarities, and he's a hoop head at his heart. That's the funniest thing. People don't know. Go look up his combine. He had some hoop game to him.
So at what point were you like, let me dust these old knees off to get out there?
When a ball came by, and you always get that itch. You remember those knees don't work exactly the way they used to, but I threw a crisp pass, laces, right to the shooting pocket. Felt good about that, nothing more.
Yeah, crisp passes, facilitating passes, being a floor general. I think that all applies to being a general manager. And your second year as the general manager for the Minnesota Vikings, how has facilitating those conversations in year one helped you for year two?
I think the biggest part is just learning people. Learning their strengths, learning how they give evidence and how they need to hear evidence. I think so much of this conversation, how conversations break down, is people just don't communicate well with each other. And I think after a year, I kind of understand, hey, when this person's saying this, what do they really mean? And how do I, if I don't have the same opinion or same view, how do I say it in a way that respects what they said, but also maybe show them through a different light? And so that's been the great dynamic this past year, and I've tried to grow, and I'll keep growing, and that'll help us get better as a group.
And getting better starts with bringing guys back. You bring Garrett Bradbury back. The offensive line is back. The specialists are back. Greg Joseph, Andrew DePaula. For you, when you saw what this Minnesota Vikings team needed this offseason, what were some of the priorities for your front office?
I mean, to your point, I think continuity is a great thing. I think a lot of times people always want to go out and maybe get different players, but they have to realize that there's change year one to year two. Yeah. So that the player you have, the Garrett Bradbury, year one in the system will be different in year two. Better. Already a good player, better in year two. And a lot of other players can, fall into that same umbrella. And outside of that, the guys we brought in, we wanted to make sure we kept our culture the way it is. We're very proud of what we built, and we want to keep it going. I think one of the other things we had was a theme of versatility, but versatility that allows other people to be better. And what I mean by that is somebody like a Josh Oliver who can actually make Justin Jefferson better. And people don't realize really what I mean, and I think they'll see it when Kevin talks and kind of how we play. But there's ways that guys that we've added, you talk about Byron and how he can help our corner, but his flexibility inside and out can help our young corners grow and really mature into the spots they want to play in. So that was a key theme of ours, and I think we accomplished that.
Yeah, and I'm glad, all these new guys were starting to get comfortable with the Minnesota Vikings. They all had the same eyes when they walked around the facility. It's like, oh my gosh, like this facility is beautiful. But at the same time, we're still going through free agency, but the draft is on the horizon. And I know pro days are happening right now behind us in Arizona. But for you, what are the next steps for you and your group?
Always constantly evaluating, working. Where are we? Where are we trying to get to? Okay. Those are the two questions we're always asking ourselves. And what's the most efficient way to get to where we want to go? If I told you how many times I wake up at 3 a.m. with scenarios in my head and different ideas, and I wake up and lay those ideas on Kevin and Rob and all the other guys in my group, but that's the process. And by the time we get to April, that day in April when it's time to go, the best ideas will be at the table, and that's what we're going to execute.
Complex systems is a word you always talk about. And then you just talked about you have those two questions that you always ask. So how do you get to the point of balancing complex systems versus, okay, this is just my gut feeling, like a guy like a Caleb Evans. This is a guy I want, and he comes in and he shines.
Yeah, I think complex systems is how I think through things and rationalize things. But at the end of the day, it is a feeling thing.
Okay.
When we talk about draft meetings, we ask specific questions to our scouts. And I simply ask them, how do you feel if this guy was going to be on our team in that situation, based on the plays that you just watched, based on the evidence you have, the 40 time and all these different information points, how does it make you feel?
Yeah.
Are you excited? You're not excited. That's really what we're talking about. And people use the word gut, but it's instincts, it's experience, it's emotion, and then it's captured into an evaluation. That's kind of what we try and do.
I'm going to ask Mark Wolf and Kwesi Adofo and Kevin O'Connell before we get out of here, and I'm going to ask you this. What are you most excited about just for this next step in the evaluation process?
Man, it's time. I would say it's time. You know, the calendar is so busy. It's rare that I just get days to sit and take in all the information. I have great scouts. I have great coaches who give reports of all these information sources, but it's hard to oftentimes just sit in a room with no distractions and take it all in and then formulate a plan. So after I get out of here, meet these great people, have a good time with you guys, I'll get to go sit in the lab for a little bit, a few days, and really get some time to sit and think. And that's what I look forward to the most.
I'm looking forward to it, Kwesi. Less than a month away before the NFL draft. Looking forward to it. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, as always.